Hi everyone, this is Wilma. I'm coming to you from Southern Colorado with a technique that many of you may be familiar with already. It's called the Black Magic Technique. It's been around for quite a long time actually. In 2010, Wendy Wexler had a really nice little video on her blog, and I know that Gina Kay has also shown it in 2015, and I'm sure a lot of other people have as well. So I'm just going to be here to kind of give you an overview, a reminder, as you will, of another technique that you might want to get back out of your treasure chest. You don't need too many supplies, really. You need dark colored cardstock. Pretty much any dark color will work. I have some brown, some purple, some blue, black, and some dark green that I decided to try a little experiment on. You'll need some coloring supplies. Here I have just plain colored pencils. These are called Color Escapes, and they're made by Crayola because those are the colored pencils I happen to have. You'll also, in this particular video, I'm also going to show you coloring with alcohol markers. These are Firefly alcohol markers. I actually picked them up at Tuesday morning, and I really kind of like them. I take them around with me when I don't want to carry my Copics. So they're handy. Let's see, you need some good white craft ink. It has to be craft ink because it needs to be thick. You need to be able to get a good impression. That's what we're going to be coloring. And every now and then I'll use my mono sand eraser if I really mess up on my coloring. And I like to have a white gel pen around as well. I'm going to be using some fairly solid colored stamps. And I like to use solid stamps simply because they give you more room to color more than anything else. So to begin with, I'd like to show you just kind of a little sample piece that I made earlier. This was just, all three of them were stamped the same with the white craft ink and then heat set. And I used the colored pencils on this one. I tried my Zig markers on this one. I did not care for that. And I used the Firefly alcohol markers on this. And honestly, I think I like the Firefly the best. This alcohol marker gives you a little bit smoother look, but it's not as solid as the water-based was. Now, the color pencils are the more, well, I guess traditional, expected coloring medium. And it gives you kind of a rough texture, but it's very pretty. So, let's get started. Okay, we're back. I'm going to be stamping on green simply because that's the color that I did my samples on for my markers to try different things out. And I had a scrap left. Later we'll see some things on different colors also. Make sure that you have your craft ink. It has to be craft ink. You want it to be nice and juicy. And I like to actually turn my stamp over. Sorry about the shaking. Give it a good coat of that craft ink. You want this to show up nice and bright white, because the bright white underneath is what's going to make your coloring really pop. Okay, so we'll stamp this little image one more time. I also kind of hold my block in place for a little while because I do want to transfer all that ink onto my cardstock. And there's our image. Now this needs to be heat set. It's wet, and I guess if you could leave it overnight it would be fine. I do that with some of my images, but if we want to work on it today, we do need to go ahead and heat set it. So I'll go take care of that now. Let's talk about cleaning your stamp pads, or your stamps, I mean. When you're using craft ink, the white ink tends to get into the crevices of your stamp. It's not quite so bad on this one. as it is on some others. There's a peacock that I'll be using a little bit later on. And boy, that one really holds that white ink in the crevices. You don't want to let that dry. So what I tend to do as soon as I'm done, or very shortly after, is I do wipe it with a baby wipe, typical cleaning. But you'll notice that there's still a lot of white ink in there. And I could scrub and scrub with the baby wipe if I wanted to. But what I tend to do, I get out my clear mat. I got these. These are clear cutting boards that I got 2 for $1 at Dollar Tree. Love them. Squirt it with a little bit of water. Let it sit there for just a minute because this is water-based paint or ink. And then I just take my little microfiber rag that I keep on my desk and wipe all that ink off. And I think you'll find that it really does keep your stamps in much better condition. Okay, well, let's go check out that image now that we have over here on my radiator. Now, if you're not sure it's ready, touch it. So I'm going to touch this leaf here. And I think, well, that one already had some white ink on it. Let me try this finger instead. I'll just touch it right here. You shouldn't have any white ink on your finger when you touch it if it's good and dry, because if it's not dry, it will smear. You need to be careful of that. Okay, so we've got our basic image here. And I said that, you know, I had tried different medium. I would like to kind of show you the difference in the two. These, and I got out the zigs. These are water-based. And we'll do that one right over here. And you just want to kind of pull color onto it. You can see it's a pretty solid color. The green's not too bad. The green is showing up pretty well. It looks fairly decent. And I think that as long as you stuck to relatively light colors, you could use your water-based markers. But I just suggest that you go ahead and do a sample piece like this to see what's going to happen. Now, let's try, next I'll try the, let's see, what color do we want? How about a pink pot? Pink pot? And this, of course, these are the Firefly alcohol markers. I haven't tried my Copics yet, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. And you can see color goes on pretty smoothly, not too bad. And it looks fairly bright. You want bright to contrast with the black or whatever other color you're using. And now let's see. Let me get out a colored pencil. And we'll try that as well, right over here. And I thought on a green background, it might be nice to see the difference of the greens also and how those showed up. Sorry about the shaky video. I'm working on a kind of a folding table, which doesn't lend itself to being stable and sturdy. Okay, so you can see the difference. This is the water-based, this is the alcohol, this is the colored pencil. And it pretty much just depends on the look that you want. So what you're going to do is go ahead and add color to your image. Once you've added color to your image, you do want to kind of highlight it. You want white gel pen to kind of make it show up a little bit better. And just add some highlights here and there. I never really know quite where I want to put them. So I kind of mess around with it for a while. My pen is, of course, not cooperating. I do have trouble with gel pens. I know some people say they have gel pens that work. I haven't found one yet. The highlights aren't going to show up as well. No, let's see here. I've seen people who are able to do neat little doodles around their images, and they look awesome. I'm never quite sure that my doodles don't just look like doodles. Maybe that's okay. I don't know. You'll notice that by putting it on the paper itself, it shows up a whole lot better than by putting it on the colored surface. Although I think you could go ahead and add white gel there also. Let me try it on the colored pencil. Now, colored pencils are wax-based, or at least mine are. And so I think that's one reason that the white gel is not working very well. I could also try it directly onto the craft ink. If there was a spot that I wanted to be really bright white, it does color onto the white craft ink rather nicely. And it works okay on the alcohol-based after the alcohol has dried. But the alcohol markers do something interesting to the white. I don't know if you can see in that, but they will pick up the color. The white gel pen will pick up the color a little bit from the alcohol marker underneath. Okay, so that's the technique basically right there. There's not too much else to say about it. I have a couple of samples I'll show you. One I'll speed up because you don't want to sit there and watch me color. And then we'll have some finished cards later as well. And oh, I did mention that you can do this, of course, on different colored papers. Here are a few that I stamped earlier. This is that peacock I told you about. Boy, oh boy, is that one interesting to clean. And I colored that with the alcohol-based markers. And then you can see that I added a few little gel pen accents just for the fun of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and make these up into cards so that I can have some samples, and I'll go ahead and post those at the beginning and again at the end of the video. So I hope that that's of use. Feel free to ask me any questions down below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.